didn't know a thing about diaper changing or about cooking or about any of that stuff. And it was amazing. After I got out of the hospital, I took my kids away right away to just get them out of the valley that we live in, away from people and the rest, and just spend time with them. I came back on a Saturday night late from that camping trip, and I sat there on the sofa. Christy, who was 1, and Jesse, who was 2, their diapers were dirty. I hadn't changed them in a few days. And I brought the stuff in the front room, just spread it out. And I sat down, and I was going to preach the next day, and I found myself bawling. And I said, Lord, why? What's the deal? Why? Not why, but why. You see, I never felt why. Never. Because the Lord, from the time I was in the ambulance and gave me the word to the time when my pastor called and confirmed it again, the Lord had given me this unbelievable, supernatural, inexplicable peace. And the Lord again spoke to me on the couch. This was only 4.5 days after the accident. And I would preach that next Sunday, and the Lord spoke to me, and He said again to me, John, I've promised you a peace that passes understanding, haven't I? Yes, Lord. And I've given you a peace that passes understanding, haven't I? Yeah, Lord, you have. Then, John, never seek peace that comes from understanding. I've given you a peace that passes understanding. And I understood. See, if I say why, and he said, here's why, then I would say, well, yeah, but why not, and how come, and what if? And he would say, and we would argue endlessly. The Lord says, I'm going to give you a peace that bypasses your understanding. Never seek peace that comes from understanding. Because you'll argue. I'm just going to jump. Your brain is so puny and so confused. I'm just going to bypass your understanding and give you peace in your heart. Peace that passes understanding. And he said to me very, very unmistakably, I've given you a peace that passes understanding. Never seek peace that comes from understanding. Just receive my peace. Okay, Lord. And for those next months, those next years, it was interesting because a peace was there every day, all the way. I was, and still am, in love with Terry. Very, very special, very beautiful lady. And my heart was broken when she was taken to heaven. But the Lord met me at that time with a peace that was unreal, amazing. Even when, oh my goodness, I didn't know how to mother, and I'd fix my girl's hair with pigtails, and as the years went on, and I tried to learn how to, we ate okay, but it was weird, like SpaghettiOs and raw carrots and sliced up pears would be a meal that we would have, and it was nutritious, but man, after 3.5 years, my kids were delighted when I said, I'm getting married again. They had enough of SpaghettiOs. And peanut butter was a big deal. I got addicted to peanut butter. Talk about frogs. Adam's peanut butter, the kind you stir up, where the oil is, there at the top, and then you stir it in and all the rest. One night I go out and I'm hungry, so I get a great big serving spoon, and I just dip it into the peanut butter, and I take a great big huge bite of this peanut butter. It was midnight. I had just finished doing the dishes and stuff and cleaning the house, and I took this peanut butter, and it got stuck in my throat. And I thought, oh no. I ran over to the refrigerator, opened it up, took out that plastic gallon, and began to chug the milk, and the milk wouldn't knock it down. It just came out. And, I usually have a beard, and it was just kind of running down my beard. And I thought, I'm dying, and Peter John's going to wake up, and he's going to find his dad dead with peanut butter in his mouth and milk in his beard. And I went over to the hot water tap, and luckily I just finished the dishes, and I kicked that baby on, and it was still hot, so it kind of, as I put my mouth on the nozzle, the hot water just kind of burned out the peanut butter. And I'm here to tell the story. But I'll tell you, it was interesting, and it was amazing, and all the rest, you see. And yet in those years, when I was single raising my kids, the Lord was there, faithful. He was there. He was there. It's true. It's true, the story of Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, who were cast into the fiery furnace, and their hair wasn't singed and their clothes didn't smell like smoke. The only thing that happened was the ropes that bound them up were what? Burned off. And they were walking around in the fire. And Nebi says, how many men did we throw in there? And one of Nebuchadnezzar's aides says, 3, your Nebiness. Well, how is it then that I see 4, and the 4th man is like the Son of God? And Nebuchadnezzar finally orders Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, come out. But what struck me in that story at that time when I was single parenting, it's true. I understood. I saw it. It's real. And that is this. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they could have walked out anytime they wanted to. I mean, who's going to say, get back in there if you're walking around in a fire with the Son of God beside you? The guards aren't going to say, they were burned up, the guards were, who tossed them in previously. It was so hot. They're not going to... Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego could have walked out any time they wanted to, but they didn't leave the fire because the Son of God was with them in the fire. They would rather be in the fire perceiving the presence and person of Jesus Christ than out of the fire where it was cooler and more comfortable, but not having that same perception. Are you with me? They would rather be in the fire, perceiving Jesus and seeing Jesus, because the Lord promises to be with you and promises to be with me when we go through the fiery trial, the difficulty. He's there. And I go, yes, it's true, Lord. This is tough for me, raising these 3 kids and missing my wife, Terry, passionately missing her. But Lord, you're with me. You are so real to me. You are so there for me. You do exactly what you promised to. You are an ever-present help in the time of need. You're here in the fire. And I've learned it's better to be in the fire, perceiving the Lord. That's a better, richer, funner, more exciting, more thrilling, more satisfying place to be than out of the fire where it's cooler, but you're not quite as perceptive of his presence, you see. Fellas, the Lord said, I'm giving you a peace. And he did. The Lord said, I'm with you in the fire. And he was. And then after 4 years, the Lord brought to me a new bride. We had a couple more kids, Mary Elizabeth and Benjamin. And God's just been good to me with my family. And I was sitting there, yes, I was sitting there in the pew towards the back on November 15th of 1994. 3 years ago last Friday. Sitting there as a proud pops. For you see, we have morning worship at our church every morning for an hour from 6:30 to 7:30. It's communion is served and candlelight service and worship happens and people come and go. And it's a real special way to start the day. But we're waiting.